The intergalactic academy glittered under the twin suns of Xalyrix 3, its domed buildings casting long shadows over the sprawling campus. Students from every corner of the galaxy shuffled through the corridors, their voices a symphony of clicks, hums, and guttural tones. For Lucas Brennan, the Academy's sole human student, the cacophony was becoming oddly comforting, like background noise in an alien sitcom. He adjusted the strap of his backpack, a relic from Earth, and dodged a pair of legless, jellyfish-like creatures bobbing down the hallway. Lucas had learned early on to embrace the stairs. Some were curious, others wary. But most of his classmates regarded humans as a species both fascinating and faintly terrifying, a reputation he hadn't asked for, but couldn't entirely deny. It was the reason he'd ended up in Professor Varick's Xenobiology seminar, a class where students shared details about their home planet's ecosystems and biology. If nothing else, it was a way to bridge the cultural gap, or so Lucas hoped. Today's lecture began with Professor Varick, a lanky creature with translucent skin and a cluster of eye stalks, clicking a pointer against the hollow board. Adaptation in hostile environments, Varick droned, his voice like water bubbling through rocks. Each species has evolved unique mechanisms to survive predators, harsh climates, and scarce resources. Mr. Brennan, perhaps you'd like to share an example from Earth. Lucas felt dozens of eyes, or their equivalents, snap toward him. He leaned back in his chair, trying to seem nonchalant. Sure, he said, feigning confidence. Earth's got a ton of examples, but I think I'll go with the hippopotamus. A ripple of confusion passed through the room. The Merville twins, who resembled sentient moss-covered boulders, exchanged glances. A LIRRKTH student, whose face was a mass of writhing tentacles, let out a skeptical trill. What is hippopotamus? One of the twins rumbled, their voice deep enough to shake the air. Lucas grinned. It's a large, mostly herbivorous mammal that lives near rivers and lakes. It's kind of cute, big, round, spends most of its time in water. A hologram materialized above his desk, projected from his tablet, a stock image of a plump hippopotamus lounging in a muddy river. The room erupted into murmurs of approval and amusement. Looks harmless, said the LIRRKTH, her tentacles rippling. Oh, it does, Lucas said, leaning forward with a conspiratorial smile. But don't let that fool you. Hippos are some of the most dangerous animals on Earth. The murmurs stopped. Dangerous, another student, a slender creature with iridescent scales, hissed in disbelief. Very, Lucas replied, sensing their intrigue. They can weigh over 3,000 kilograms, run faster than a human, and have jaws strong enough to crush a watermelon or a skull. The room fell silent, the stillness punctuated only by the soft hum of the hollow board. Lucas took a deep breath, realizing he had their full attention. They're territorial, he continued, and if you get too close, they'll charge. They've been known to flip boats and attack humans, without hesitation. More people are killed by hippos in Africa than by lions or crocodiles. A collective gasp rippled through the class. One of the Merville twins dropped their stylus, and the LIRRKTH recoiled slightly, her tentacles curling inward. But they're herbivores, protested a crystalline being whose voice rang like chimes. Sure, they mostly eat plants, Lucas admitted, but that doesn't mean they're not dangerous. They're unpredictable, and they don't care how big or small you are. If they feel threatened, you're done for. Professor Varick's eye stalks quivered as he regarded Lucas. Fascinating. A creature of such mass and lethality, yet it is not a predator. Remarkable. Lucas nodded. Yeah, nature's weird like that. For a moment, the room was eerily quiet. Then, the whispers began, a tide of speculation and disbelief sweeping through the class. They swim in water. Are they amphibious assassins? Earth's herbivores sound more dangerous than our apex predators. I would never go to this planet. Lucas tried to suppress a laugh. He hadn't intended to terrify his classmates, but their reactions were too entertaining. Then he noticed Zil, a pale, spindly alien with a membrane-like frill running down his back, clutching his desk with trembling hands. "You live among these monsters?" Zil stammered, his voice cracking. "Well, yeah," Lucas replied, shrugging. "But it's not like they're everywhere. You just have to respect their space, and you'll be fine." Zil didn't look reassured. In fact, his pale green complexion had turned an alarming shade of white. Without warning, he slumped forward, his frill going limp. Chaos erupted. The Merville twins roared in alarm. The Lirrkth emitted a piercing screech, and Professor Varric clicked his claws for silence. Lucas jumped to his feet, unsure whether to laugh, panic, or apologize. "He has fainted," Varric declared, his eye stalks swiveling toward Lucas. "Mr. Brennan, what exactly did you say?" Lucas held up his hands. "I just told the truth. Hippos are dangerous, but they're not deadly creatures lurking in deceptively tranquil waters." The crystalline being interjected, her voice shrill. "Not unmanageable," Lucas finished, though his words were drowned out by the rising chatter. The professor gestured for calm, his voice firm. "That is enough. Zil will recover. Class dismissed." Lucas gathered his things quickly, feeling the weight of a dozen alien stares burning into his back as he left the room. By the time he reached the corridor, he could already hear fragments of hushed conversations behind him. "Humans are insane. They coexist with that? I heard they have creatures even worse." Lucas sighed, rubbing the back of his neck. He hadn't expected the mention of a hippopotamus to turn his classmates' worldviews upside down. As he walked toward the dormitories, he couldn't shake the feeling that this was far from over. Somewhere, deep in the Academy's network of whispers, the legend of Earth's hippopotamus was taking on a life of its own. The cafeteria buzzed with its usual chaos, a symphony of alien voices punctuated by the clatter of trays and utensils. Lucas slid into his usual spot by the window, tray in hand, hoping to avoid the growing storm. He'd barely taken a bite of his protein bar when he felt the stares. Across the room, a trio of insectoid Carthans huddled together, their faceted eyes darting in his direction. Nearby, a Merville twin whispered something to their sibling, and both turned to glance at him, their mossy faces unreadable. Lucas sighed, biting into the bar with more force than necessary. The hippopotamus incident, as it was now being called, had spread like wildfire through the Academy. Everywhere he went, he caught fragments of the rumors, tales of Earth's ruthless death beasts, whispers about humans' apparent immunity to fear, and speculation about other horrors lurking on Lucas's home planet. "Lucas," a soft, chiming voice interrupted his thoughts. He looked up to see Lyra, a crystalline being whose shimmering form refracted the cafeteria lights into a rainbow halo. Her usual calm demeanor seemed tinged with unease. "Lyra," he said, forcing a smile. "What's up?" She hesitated, her fingers, delicate like spun glass, clutching her tray. "May I join you?" "Sure." She slid into the seat across from him, her transparent features shimmering faintly. "I've been hearing unsettling things about your planet," she began carefully. "Is it true? About the hippopotamus?" Lucas groaned inwardly. "It's true that hippos can be dangerous, yeah, but I think everyone's blowing this way out of proportion." Lyra tilted her head, the light catching in her crystalline facets. "How could a species evolve to be so lethal without being carnivorous? It defies logic." "It's not about logic. It's about survival," Lucas explained. "Hippos evolved to protect their territory and young. They're not going out of their way to attack anything. They're just misunderstood." "Misunderstood," Lyra repeated slowly, as though testing the word. "Exactly. They're not monsters." Before Lyra could respond, a shadow loomed over their table. Lucas looked up to see Threx, a hulking reptilian student with gleaming scales and an imposing stature. His yellow eyes locked onto Lucas with predatory intensity. "So," Threx hissed, his forked tongue flicking out, The human speaks of misunderstood monsters. Lucas set his protein bar down, bracing himself. What do you want, Threx? Threx leaned closer, his scales catching the light. On my homeworld, we face predators daily, beasts that would make your hippopotamus seem tame. Yet we do not boast of their lethality as though it is a badge of honor. I wasn't boasting, Lucas said, keeping his tone even. Were you not? Threx challenged. Your kind thrives on chaos. You celebrate danger, while the rest of us seek to avoid it. The cafeteria had gone eerily quiet. Lucas could feel dozens of eyes on him, waiting for his response. We don't celebrate danger, he said finally. We learn to live with it. Earth isn't easy, but we adapt. That's what humans do. Threx let out a low, guttural laugh. Adaptation? Or recklessness? Perhaps you've merely grown numb to the horrors of your world. Before Lucas could answer, the soft chime of the intercom interrupted. Attention, all students. A special assembly will be held in Lecture Hall 7 immediately. Attendance is mandatory. Threx straightened, his yellow eyes narrowing. This isn't over, human. As the cafeteria emptied, Lucas followed the flow of students, his mind racing. He had a sinking feeling the assembly wasn't a coincidence. The lecture hall was packed, every seat filled with aliens of all shapes and sizes. At the front of the room, Professor Varric stood with his eye stalks raised, a gesture that indicated both authority and concern. A holographic display hovered behind him, showing a 3D model of a hippopotamus rotating slowly. Lucas sank into his seat, dread pooling in his stomach. Students, Varric began, his voice amplified by unseen technology. Recent discussions in my xenobiology class have sparked considerable unrest. It seems that Earth's wildlife, particularly a creature known as the hippopotamus, has become a topic of great interest and concern. A murmur rippled through the room. In the interest of clarity, Varric continued, I have invited Mr. Brennan to provide an in-depth explanation of this creature and its role in Earth's ecosystem. Lucas froze. What? He whispered, but it was too late. All eyes turned to him as Varric gestured for him to come forward. With a deep breath, Lucas rose from his seat and made his way to the front. His palms were sweaty, and his heart pounded in his chest, but he forced himself to project confidence. Facing the sea of expectant faces, he cleared his throat. Hi everyone. So, the hippopotamus, he gestured to the hologram behind him. It's true that hippos are dangerous. They're huge, fast, and territorial. But they're also a vital part of their ecosystem. They shape river environments, create habitats for other species, and even help cycle nutrients. They're not just killing machines. A tentacled student raised a limb. But why do you tolerate such creatures on your planet? Lucas smiled wryly. Because we don't have a choice. Earth is full of challenges, predators, extreme weather, diseases. But every challenge teaches us something. Hippos aren't a problem to be solved. They're a part of the bigger picture. We coexist with them, just like we coexist with everything else on our planet. The room was silent for a moment, and then another student, a feathery being with a melodic voice, asked, And do you not fear them? Of course we do, Lucas said. Fear is natural. But fear isn't the end of the story. It's just the beginning of understanding. The room erupted into hushed whispers, and Lucas stepped back, hoping he'd done enough to quell the growing hysteria. But as he returned to his seat, he noticed Threx watching him with a calculating expression. Lucas had answered their questions for now, but he couldn't shake the feeling that the rumors about Earth and humanity were far from over. The quiet hum of the hollow projector filled the lecture hall as Lucas stood in front of his classmates, their expectant eyes fixed on him. His presentation, hastily cobbled together the night before, flickered to life behind him, a slideshow of Earth's most fascinating creatures. Okay, Lucas began, his voice steady but his palms slick with sweat. Let's set the record straight about Earth's wildlife, starting with the infamous hippopotamus. The first image displayed a serene river scene, a pod of hippos lounging in the water under the golden glow of sunset. A murmur rippled through the audience, the initial tension in the room softening slightly. "This," Lucas said, gesturing toward the hollow image, "is how you'll usually find them, relaxing, minding their own business. They're not prowling predators, not bloodthirsty monsters. They're just hippos." "But they are lethal," someone interjected, their voice a mix of awe and unease. "Yes, they can be," Lucas admitted, switching to the next slide. This one displayed a diagram of a hippo's anatomy, highlighting its powerful jaws and thick skin. "They're strong and territorial, sure, but that's not their whole story. Hippos play a crucial role in their ecosystem. Their grazing maintains vegetation along riverbanks, preventing overgrowth, and their waste fertilizes aquatic life. Without them, those ecosystems would collapse." A crystalline student raised their hand. "So, they're dangerous and beneficial?" "A paradox." "Not really," Lucas replied. "Everything on Earth exists in balance. For every danger, there's a purpose. Humans learned to respect that balance. We don't fear hippos. We respect them. And that's how we survive." The room quieted as Lucas advanced to the next slide, a playful photo of a baby hippo nibbling on a watermelon. It earned a collective awe from the crowd, and Lucas allowed himself a small smile. "See? They're not all bad," he said, leaning into the moment. "And hippos aren't even the scariest animals on Earth. Have you heard about the honey badger?" A ripple of laughter broke through the room, and Lucas felt the tension ease further. He moved on, showcasing other Earth animals, the symbiotic relationship between clownfish and sea anemones, the camouflage of chameleons, the sheer resilience of tardigrades. As he spoke, his classmates leaned forward, curiosity replacing fear. "Earth isn't just dangerous," Lucas said, wrapping up his presentation. "It's resilient, diverse, and beautiful. And humans? We're a part of that story. We're not fearless. We've just learned how to live with fear and turn it into something useful." The final slide was a panoramic shot of Earth's vibrant landscapes, lush forests, sprawling savannas, and shimmering oceans. This is what makes Earth special. It's not the challenges we face, but how we grow because of them. The room erupted into applause, hesitant at first, but growing louder. Lucas exhaled a breath he hadn't realized he was holding, stepping back to his seat as Professor Varrick approached the podium. "An enlightening presentation, Mr. Brennan," Varrick said, his eye stalks swiveling toward the audience. "Let this serve as a reminder that understanding is the first step toward dispelling fear." As the students filed out of the hall, a few approached Lucas, their earlier wariness replaced with tentative smiles. "Your planet sounds incredible," Lyra said, her crystalline body shimmering. "Terrifying, but incredible." "Thanks," Lucas said, grinning. "It's home?" Even Threx, the ever-skeptical reptilian, paused as he passed. "Perhaps there's more to your kind than recklessness," he said, his tone grudgingly respectful. Lucas nodded. "And maybe there's more to you than arrogance." Threx's lips curled into a faint smile. Whether amused or impressed, Lucas couldn't tell. Back in his dorm room later that evening, Lucas found a small package waiting for him on his desk. Inside was a plush hippopotamus, its round body stitched with meticulous care. Attached was a note in a flowing script. "Thank you for sharing your world. May we all learn to coexist as you have. Lyra." Lucas chuckled, setting the toy on his shelf. The hippopotamus incident had caused more chaos than he ever imagined, but it had also sparked something unexpected: understanding, curiosity, and maybe even a little respect. As he lay back on his bed, he couldn't help but wonder what other Earth stories might shake his alien classmates to their cores. Sharks, maybe. Or volcanoes. Or honey badgers, for real this time. Smiling to himself, Lucas drifted off, dreaming of the next wild tale Earth had to offer.